It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 4 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 20th of August in the year of our Lord 2023, season 14, episode 5, 640 times. You have been welcomed to the Clubhouse Podcast live from remote locations because that's how we get down. Welcome. Don is still on another continent for another week and a half. So welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast. And as we learned in our previous show, I coordinated today. Little Mountain Dew Zero in there. That way for me is my co-host and a man that gets that part of it right every time, and I can't seem to. From an undisclosed location in the middle of a desert, he is Alex.
Technically, I am in the meadows, but it's
fancy.
So close. It even feels like football weather out here. I am stoked. This is one of my favorite shows of the year. Because
it is the NFL Extravaganza. I put too much on it. Sorry.
You put too much on
it. I'm using a different board and it's farther away from me. I need to move it closer to me. But yeah, it's our NFL preview extravaganza. Copyright around the horn. But for those of you wondering, we do have Don's picks. We did this last year. Didn't go as planned. So we planned this year. And it is time for life to begin. Only one more Sunday, actually 2 more Sundays after today until football counts. And with as much as I love college football, we ain't talking college football. We're talking about the NFL. We're talking about life beginning. Mm-hmm. We are talking about our long national nightmare being over.
Yes.
We are ready for 18 to 21-ish weeks of life.
Well, if you count the preseason games, we're having weekend football from now until next March.
I don't count that.
But my point being, it exists. I do miss the old school, but I understand the new school of preseason, and my degeneracy does kick in.
I'm so ready for football that counts.
Yes.
And like I said last week, Hard Knocks ain't going to give me the rope-a-dope this year. I'm not getting my Hard Knocks this year. I'm not doing it.
I need you to put a pin in that.
Probably. I'm still probably going to draft Aaron Rodgers. But
I'm going to need you to put a pin in that because I have some facts for you.
You will not sway me. I have made a decision. I'm not getting rope-a-doped by Hard Knocks again this year. But what I will say is they are at least showing some of the flaws in the system more than they have done in the first 2 episodes in a very long time, which I appreciate.
Well, I believe it was a Shakespearean quote that says, "Methinks thou doth protest too much."
I'm not getting, no. Not just because it's my division. No. I love you, Robert Saleh. I'm a big fan. But I like MC/DC, and they let me down too.
I love this show.
I love you, Leanne Schreiber. I'm not letting you rope-a-dope me. All right. So before we get started, we did want to talk a little bit. If you are a fan of the Sunday Ticket, things are a little bit different this year. In case you've missed it, welcome back from the cave. Google now owns the Sunday Ticket. So there's really now no reason to have DirecTV. But apparently, Alex and I were talking in pre-show. There's a little bit of this I don't know. Now, if you missed it, did we talk about that last week or was it week before in Tech Talk?
We've talked about it a couple of times.
I am now a YouTube TV subscriber, and I am all in. I have enjoyed everything about YouTube TV. It checks all the boxes. I'm going to get Red Zone, although I found out this week I can actually get the NFL Network app, and with my YouTube TV login, I can watch Red Zone there too if I need to. But either way, I'm ready. When I was in Pittsburgh this past week, and when you have to watch live TV and there's nothing on, you'll watch NFL Network, and they were showing commercials for Red Zone, and I was ready to run through a wall.
But one of the updates that we did have from the last time we talked about it is Rob having YouTube TV. I do not, but I have been a longtime YouTube Premium subscriber, and I have been getting the invites for Sunday Ticket independent of YouTube TV. So they have the same deal. We're not 100% sure how that will work, but if you are a YouTube Premium subscriber independent of TV, you will have that ability.
Are you being offered the discount?
Yes, the $50 off.
Yeah. And if you want to know how long he's been a YouTube Premium subscriber, he was telling me about season 1 of Cobra Kai. That's how long he has been a YouTube Premium subscriber. I remember it. I was there.
Huh?
But if you subscribe now, you can get $50 off, which makes the price for NFL Sunday Ticket $250. Still too expensive for me. I still believe that you want to make a bazillion more dollars, YouTube. I will pay you $100 a year to be guaranteed my Dolphin games. And that's all I want. I'll pay you an extra $50 for the Bucks if I need to. But my thing is, I need my Dolphins games. Now, granted, because of that, I will live on Red Zone channel. It is an invention. It's like Fire, The Wheel, TiVo, Red Zone. That's the list. It's almost football season, baby. I'm ready.
I love this. I love this excitement.
Now, this is the most excited I get for anything all year, because I have been, we've said it before, we'll say it again. I grew up in South Florida. The Dolphins were all we had until the late 80s. The Heat were terrible for the first 5 years. Football is life.
When you're required to give Ronnie Cycli all-star games, that's how bad the Heat were.
Can I tell you, I now have another thing I'm now watching, and I blame Phil and Shannon.
Go for it.
I'm watching Tacoma FD now, and I blame them.
Okay, let them have the blame. I've been telling you about it the whole time.
They made me watch an episode with them the other night, and I'm like,
well, there's another crossover for the other show we're going to have to talk about with that.
I was like, I've already watched all of season 1.
Now.
All right, let's do this.
As my focus audience, Rob, I want your input here. We're going to go alphabetically through the division and then through the order of 2022's finish within that division.
Which I was terrible at.
Would you prefer to start knowing what that over-under on the wins is, or do you want the facts first?
I want to make my predictions cold. So I will
you
make
don't
my
want the number,
and then you can give me the facts afterwards, because I'm going with my gut this year.
So you want the betting number first, make your prediction, and then the facts.
Alex will give us the numbers from an undisclosed location in the desert where he is, and we will take the over or the under on number of wins for said team.
So, as you called it your division before, the AFC East comes first.
Greatest division in football.
2022's division champion were the Buffalo Bills. Their 2023 over-under is 10.5.
That seems very aggressive. Now, after I give mine, go ahead and give Don's if you want to.
Absolutely.
Because that's not going to move, because even with the facts, he's already given his, and he's in a different continent.
And hemisphere.
Correct. Well, is he on this side of the meridian?
Nope.
Oh, I thought he was. Buffalo was a team that I have watched closely the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, because they're in my division, I've watched them most of my life. Do I like the fact that their new stadium is now naming rights by the company I work for? I do not. I was not consulted. Highmark Stadium. They also have a soccer stadium in Pittsburgh called Highmark Stadium too.
Tangenting.
I think they're going to have a tougher road this year. I'm
Mhm.
going to hesitantly take the under because I believe they will stop at 10. It
Okay.
will be the thinnest of margins, but I'm taking the under.
That makes perfect sense. Now, if you would like the odd factoid that has nothing to do with on the field except for maybe karmic influence in your favor,
Okay.
in their new indoor facility, they put up a banner that said Buffalo football with a Lombardi trophy on it, which they have never won.
It should say Buffalo football does not equal, is what it should say.
But at that same time, there's some karma working there.
And
However,
a great 30 for 30, by the way, about that.
but one thing Buffalo did do was they led the NFL in scoring offense and scoring defense over the last 3 years.
3 years surprises me. Last year does not.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Now, one of those things that really goes with it is Josh Allen backpacking that team when he has to. Now, the interesting factoid that I found in that scope was there has only been 2 quarterbacks ever to top the league more than once against pressure. So whether or not they have to scramble, whether or not they have to throw on the run, but avoiding the pressure and having a successful play. One of those is Tom Brady. The other is Josh Allen. So pressuring him doesn't work. You got to find another aspect. Now, one of the things you could think about was, well, he only has Stephon Diggs and what else to throw to, especially with them having drafted Dalton Kincaid as the tight end. Well, I want to go back to this episode last year where I was talking up Gabe Davis as a quality player. And then he disappeared for pretty much the entire season.
The least football name ever, Gabe.
But the biggest part of that was he had a high ankle sprain during week 2 and proceeded to play on it the entire season.
That can't be good.
Buffalo might be better this year on offense.
Okay.
But the biggest problem they have is they have amazing coverage in the safety position and at their number 1 corner. But they get killed by wide receivers 2, 3, and down the line, which is why teams like Cincinnati have been their ultra kryptonite because they have multiple receivers.
Fair enough.
So Rob has it at 10, slightly under. Don has them winning 13 games. And I have them winning 12. So we are both over. You are the lone under, sir.
I feel bad that you all will lose that particular pick.
Well, I did knock it down to 12 after the karma of the banner. Are you ready for your Dolphins?
I am actually incredibly ready for my Dolphins. They've made a lot of moves in the offseason. Some of it's panning out, some of it's getting a little bit wonky because of the injuries that they're dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have faith right now. I have a level of faith in my Dolphins I have not had in a very, very long time. This resurgence has been fun to watch. I will never. I am ride or die with this team. I have been with this team since I was 7 years old and had to make a decision. So bring it on.
9.5 games.
I'll take the over. I think they win the division.
With how many?
They'll win it by a game because I think they'll hit 11. Oh, James is here. James is here, and he agrees with me, even though it says just stop.
Okay. Well, sadly, the Dolphins have not won a playoff game since 2000.
We're due. Did they not win a game in the late aughts in the playoffs?
Nope.
Need to see the paperwork on this.
I've done the research, but feel free.
We're due.
Now,
feel good.
Mike McDaniel has proven to be a genius with the offense and adapting Shanahan's scheme to, let's call it, a lesser talented quarterback in Tua who makes good decisions and fits with the mold.
He is, as Homer Simpson once said, crazy like a fox.
However, the real problem, and James just called out what's going to be the problem, that offensive line was horrendous the moment Terran Armstead went out, who is dealing with injury right now It went from a 78% success rate to 22%.
I stand by my prediction.
However, in that same scope, with bad quarterback play, we talked about how Tyreek Hill was not going to be as good of a player leaving Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. He set career highs in everything.
He had a year last year. It's the Skylar Thompson era, baby.
But the biggest thing that will make the Dolphins go once they get to that point, Mostert's going to get hurt, Wilson's going to get hurt, or they're just not going to be as good. And that draft pick, Devon Achane, is going to run roughshod with that Shanahan offense whenever he finally gets the ball to go. However, Don and I both have the under at 8 wins for Don and 9 wins for me. So not a bad season, still a winning season on my part. Don has them slightly below.
This is a great darts league because we have great grouping in our predictions.
But what I really like is the fact that we're already 2 in and none of it is blanket. I love it. Now, speaking of blanket, Boston, the New England Patriots.
Boo!
7.5. How many you got, Rob?
I will take the over here because the Patriots are still the Patriots. They are not going to win less than games than that. I don't see it happening. I don't think I would pick them third in the division because they're struggling so hard. But they're not going to have a terrible season. It's just not going to be a great season. Mac Jones is really starting to come into his own, and we'll talk about that piece of it when we get to the Jets. But I think I just bit my tongue. Nobody fears the Patriots anymore. And that with that fear factor being gone, we can see how it has affected that team.
How many wins?
I'll give them 7.
That's under.
That's what I said.
Oh, you said over.
No, they'll be under. It'll be at 7.
Okay.
Because again, I don't see them going 500, but they won't miss it by much.
Well, that jinxes us because we all have it as under. However, would you be interested to note that you have them winning more games than either of us? Because Don has them winning 6. I have them winning 5.
Woo!
Now,
5 and
going in that same scope.
Patriots?
What's that?
5 and 12 for the Patriots?
Yes, I do. It's a tough road this year, but that debacle they had last year of, I don't know, let's have co-offensive coordinators who have never coached offense. But they get Bill O'Brien back, so there should be some improvements, especially since Tom Brady left New England. They are last in first downs and 29th in pass TDs. It blows my mind that they're that bad. But they should be better than last year, and I still have them at last in the division.
James says as long as the Jets are in the division, he has 2 wins.
Put a pin in that one. But if you want your fantasy spin on the Patriots, look no further than Ramondre Stevenson. Oh, but they signed Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, he's their new O-lineman. Did you see the size of him when he showed up? Anyways, Ramondre Stevenson had a 17% target share and 15 touches in all but 3 games last year. And here's a fun fact for you. Even with those terrible offenses, since 2017, Patriots running backs have averaged more PPR points, that's points per reception in fantasy, than any other team on bad offenses.
And for those of you that may be joining us for the first time or the first time in, the last 11 months, Alex and I do play in a fantasy league together. He is our commissioner. I was this close last year. I was this close. And I know.
Was closer.
And this year, I have the second pick in the draft. Very excited.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see who that is.
Aaron Rodgers.
As long as the Jets are in the division, there's 2 wins.
So, you
keep saying that you're not going to get hoodwinked or roped in.
I'm not going to get rope-a-doped by Hard Knocks this year. I told myself going into this, I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Robert Saleh, love the show. Every year I get hyped up by whoever the team is that's on Hard Knocks, and I'm not going to let it happen this year.
I want to do this one just a little bit differently.
Even though I have a green pen.
How many wins for the Jets this year?
Give me the over-under.
No. I want to hear your prediction.
No, because then I need to pull up the schedule and everything else. We got to keep this moving. What is the over-under?
See, when we do America's Favorite Game Show, you won't let me hear that anymore.
But I say most of the stats before we get there.
9.5.
Under.
Ooh.
Under.
Aggressive under.
They are not getting to 10. They're not getting to double-digit wins this year.
How
No
many?
way. 6.
Whoo.
Because this is, I am going on my Hard Knocks, and James is with me. I'm going on my Hard Knocks logic. Every year, I believe in Hard Knocks, and the team does nothing. So this year, I'm not believing in Hard Knocks. So when they do nothing, I don't feel bad. That is my logic.
I warned you about stats, did I not?
You always do, and I refuse to believe it.
Well, I'm going to start with one simple one. Do you know the last time the Jets had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards?
1867.
I'm hesitating because it was 1967.
Ooh, look at that.
So it was Joe Namath before they won a Super Bowl. However, in the entirety of their existence, the best graded passer in Jets history is Mark Sanchez in 2010. His
James Hassett, it was Winnipeg.
No, they exceed.
I hate that my buttons don't work today because I let my iPad die.
That best graded season was 72.1 in 2010. Rodgers had an ostensibly bad year last year. He was 75.9. So, in one of his worst seasons, he'd still be the best Jets passer ever. Now, the biggest thing for the Jets was that their defense allowed the fourth fewest points per game last year. The last time Aaron Rodgers had a top 8 defense, not top 4, top 8 defense, was 2010. That was the year he won the Super Bowl. And the Jets haven't made the playoffs since then.
You're not swaying me. I stand by my prediction. This will be the one year that it completely blows the wheels off. But I'm standing by my prediction.
Well,
because I am a man of principle.
But you are in company, as Don also has them under at 8.
Oh, Sean's agreeing with me.
I have them winning double digits at 10.
It's a beautiful view on that island by yourself, my friend.
Hey, I had a few of those last year and I was right. I believe one of us called Philly all the way. Anyways. So, from the looks of it, you have the Dolphins winning the division.
Mm-hmm.
Don has the Bills winning the division. And I have the Bills winning the division. Interestingly enough, it looks like, depending on how the rest of this goes, you'll have 2 teams from the division in the playoffs. I'll have 2 teams in the division in the playoffs. Don will only have the Bills.
Can I give you, before we move to the next division?
Hit me.
So I watched a lot of NFL Network this past week while I was out of town.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really cool trivia question on Good Morning Football on Thursday. You with me?
I'm there.
Since 2000, so 2000 and forward.
Okay.
What quarterback whose first pass attempt was a touchdown had the longest touchdown as in that cat? Are you with me so far?
So you're saying who had the longest first touchdown pass?
No, first pass. Their first pass attempt was a touchdown.
Okay.
As a rookie.
Okay.
Whose was the longest?
I do not know.
Matty Ice in 2008 threw a 62-yard touchdown pass. Now,
Interesting.
you know who was in fifth, tied for fourth, technically, because fourth and fifth were tied.
Okay.
Fifth was Tebow,
Mm-hmm.
3 yards, to show you that disparagement. I picked somebody else. I'm like, couldn't be Matt Ryan. And then they showed the footage. I'm like, oh my God, it was Matt Ryan.
Was it Roddy White?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it was. I just saw that. I was like, that is fascinating.
Yeah. You love one-offs like that.
Oh, absolutely. All right.
Alphabetically speaking, we are now moving to Don's division.
The AFC North,
where the Cincinnati Bengals won the division handily before falling in the AFC Championship game when Patrick Mahomes finally beat them.
James said the Jets might actually be fifth in the division.
I can't wait for all that crow eating to happen.
Can I be honest, though?
Yes.
I can say honestly, you have not lived until you've sat through a Dolphins game with James Harding and I in the same room. It is absolute chaos. That's why he is one of my best friends. That is why he was a groomsman in my wedding. I have known James since I was 14 years old. We were in marching band together.
So we might have to pick up the pace a little bit because it took a little bit longer.
AFC North, let's do it.
AFC North, Bengals won the division. This year it's 11.5. What do you got?
For the Bengals?
Yes.
11.5 seems aggressive. I'm going to take the under at 9. I think looking through this division, I think they still probably have the best shot at winning the division again, but it's not going to be an impressive year for this division.
Well, I have a factoid for later on, but I'll say it right now at the start of the division. The Vegas line on every team has them with a winning record. That's never happened. So every single one of them has each an AFC North team having a winning record. I don't. But Joe Burrow has played for 2 full seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He has half of the Bengals' all-time playoff wins.
Not shocked by that.
But the biggest thing is keeping him healthy, even though he has a bit of a hurt calf right now. And their biggest signing, while under the radar a little bit, was Orlando Brown. A very consistent left tackle to protect Burrow's blind side, but they also took him from the Chiefs. Put a pin in that. So, you remember last year when I said Justin Jefferson will be the number 1 receiver in the NFL, and it's not going to be close?
Who I had on my fantasy team?
Yeah, you're welcome. This year, it's Jamar Chase.
He ruined my fantasy day 2 years ago. I remember it like it was yesterday. I am not going to disagree with you there.
But here's where the real thing comes in. Wide receiver 12 is a starter easily at wide receiver 1. He did that last year, missing 5 games.
He's that good.
He will be the number 1. As long as Burrow's healthy, he will be the number 1. So you have them at 9 in the under.
Mm-hmm.
Don has them at 11 in the under. I have looked at the schedule, and the AFC North has a very, very soft matchup. I have them winning 15.
Good night.
I didn't like it when I looked at it either. But interestingly enough, with that same soft schedule, the Ravens, who came in second, have 10.5.
Full on under.
Okay.
I don't care what the Ravens try to tell me. I don't care that OBJ is saying how much he's enjoying playing with this team. The Ravens are chaos right now. They're trying to stack the deck, and they're stacking the wrong deck. They're stacking the deck for tiddlywinks when they should be stacking the deck for high stakes poker. I am full on taking the under on this, and I will be shocked if they get to 7.
Now, is that your number?
7 is my number.
All right.
That surprised me, doggone it.
Well, Don also has them at under at 10. Brace yourself. I have them winning 13.
So you're saying between Cincinnati and Baltimore. That's 25 wins?
28.
Wow. That's aggressive.
Yes, it is.
That is aggressive.
But when you play the AFC South and the NFC South, and those teams are terrible, I was shocked when I came out with it too. But let me explain why. Are you familiar with Todd Monken?
Refresh my memory.
He is their new offensive coordinator. Now, where you would know him best was the pre-Brady Tampa Bay years.
Okay.
Where by hook or by crook, no matter who was playing quarterback, including Fitzmagic, they were throwing for yardage and scoring, but they still couldn't win because the defense hadn't been solidified. So, Todd Monken most recently took a plodding Georgia Bulldogs offense and turned them into the college football juggernaut that they were the last few years. Prior to that, he was in Cleveland for that one season when Baker Mayfield looked like the second coming, a.k.a. the same Baker Mayfield that it will be quarterbacking the Buccaneers. Now, if you would like some specific statistics to those Tampa Bay years before Brady, they were all team records. It was ranked third in first downs in the NFL, second in passing yards per game, first in third down conversion. Now, that's a big one. All of that under Monken, and immediately fell off the table the moment he was gone. So, if you want your fantasy spin on it, Lamar Jackson re-signed for less money than he probably could have gotten just to play in this offense.
I mean, they're all fair points, but it looks great on paper, but players play.
Yeah, and their defense was actually pretty spectacular last year. But people don't remember it because they kept losing games because they had no offense. So, yes, I have 28 wins between your top two, both playoff teams. Now, they can't all be winners because here come the Steelers. 8.5, sir.
I should probably look at the schedules as you're approaching them. Will probably help me a lot.
That would help.
Steelers on the ticket. Bye week is the middle of October. Like you said, they are playing both divisions in the South.
Who are garbage.
They're not playing the NFC South. Because I don't see Tampa Bay in here. They played them in preseason.
It might be the East.
They're not playing Miami. Or the NFC East, maybe? Nope.
That's what I was saying.
I think it's
I know it's a weak division in the NFC that they
NFC West, because they're playing Seattle and they got San Francisco in week 1.
Yeah, San Francisco is the only tough matchup in that division, really. So,
what's the over/under?
9 or 8.5.
I'll give them 10.
Did you say 10 for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so I'll take the over.
Okay.
Because when you're playing teams like Arizona,
but
they're also playing the Packers. I got to move this board up. But yeah, I mean, I'll give them 10 wins. I think that they're due. I think that I also want to watch Don squirm when they win 10 games because he hates Tomlin so much, and I still to this day don't understand why. Because again, never had a losing season as long as he has coached that team. James says Cincinnati has done nothing to end up anywhere but first. I'm not going to debate that. This is going to be one of the more fun divisions to watch, I think, this year. But I think Pittsburgh's going to surprise a lot of people because from a mass audience standpoint, they have been very quiet the last few years because Cincinnati's stolen all the spotlight.
True.
I think Pittsburgh's going to reach up and bite a lot of people this year. So I'll give them 10.
So the interesting thing is yes, for the 16th straight season to start his career, Tomlin had a winning record. despite a historically bad offense at 18.1 points per game. Pickett and Pickens are going to be better. And I agree with you. They could really surprise in any other division. But in this division, I have them at 8 wins. Don has them at 7. So
I think Don judges them harshly.
I put no stock in Don's because I know I do the same thing with the Giants.
It's not that I don't put any stock in what Don's saying. I just think that Don, it's very strange, his fandom in the NFL, because James thinks that Pittsburgh and Baltimore will slug it out for a wild card.
Nah.
This is the one team that he roots for that I feel like the glass is half empty all the time.
Have you not heard him talk about the Pirates?
Well, the Pirates deserve it. But
right. So there is no team he roots for that isn't half empty. It's a Pittsburgh thing.
But this is a team that, again, hasn't had a winning season in the better part of 3, or hasn't had a losing season, I apologize, in the better part of 3 decades. This is a team that's always going to be competitive. It's one of my favorite Tomlin stories, that when he was talking to, and I can't remember who the quarterback was, but he was just like, this is why I can't have you on my team, because for me to have you on my team, I have to lose enough games to draft you. And that mentality for me says everything I need to know about Mike Tomlin. And I just, this team, I think, will be one of the surprise teams from a mass audience standpoint. For guys like you and me that watch this religiously, maybe not as much, but I think a mass basic B-flat fan is going to be surprised by this team this year.
Yeah, no, they absolutely could surprise. I just don't think they will, but I have them barely under at 8 wins.
Okay.
And that leaves us with Brownie the Elf. 9.5.
Cleveland. Let's take a look here. Starting out versus the Bengals. Versus the Bengals at Pittsburgh versus Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough first 3 out. I don't see them. It may be almost Halloween before they win. As I'm looking at this schedule. What was the over-under? I apologize.
Sorry, I threw up James's quote because that was too good. 9.5.
I'm taking the under. I can't see.
What's your number?
I'm getting there. I can't see Cleveland. I'm going to give him 7, and that's me being generous because I'm in a generous mood. It's Cleveland at the crux of all of it. It's the Browns. They're bringing back the all-white unis this year. It's the Cleveland curse. It just is.
But here's my favorite part of what you just said and why I wanted that number. Without talking to anybody about numbers, we all have the exact same one.
Really? Wow.
We all have 7. Now,
don't we have one of those every year where all of us have the exact same number?
I don't think we had any. I think we came close on a few, but I don't think we had any last year. But it's definitely going to be a real rough start for them because they are a running team and they have the second toughest opening month rush schedule. So they're going to start behind everything. And part of the reason I love James's quote, because we all have them losing 7 at least, or losing 9.5 at least. But
it's going to be bad.
Deshaun Watson needs to prove his worth with a full off season. After
for that money,
2 years
doggone better. For that money, he doggone better.
But to be off for almost 2 years, which I did not realize or remember. But here's where your saving grace is.
He had at least one start last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he was off for almost 2 full years before that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying going into the season.
Yes, going into less. Nick Chubb, over his first 5 seasons, has a 5+ yards per carry, and he has 6,000 rushing yards. He's the first person to do it to start a career since Jim Brown.
Well, and my thing is, whatever the over-under is on average number of carries that man's going to have a game, take the over, because there's not an over-under high enough that I would take an under on average carries per game Nick Chubb's going to have, because that's what they've got.
Well, I would pivot that to touches, because I feel like they're going to have to pass more being behind.
Fair.
So his rushes may be limited because they suck, and they lost what good they had on their defense in a lot of areas. So all of us have 7 to wrap up the AFC North.
All right.
AFC South.
Are we going alphabetically in the division? Yes. Okay, so we're at...
No. It's order of finish from the prior.
Okay. So where are we at then?
So we are the Fighting Shere Khans.
Oh, so Jax.
Yes. So their number is 9.5.
Mm. 2, 3. I got them winning 3 out of their first 4.
Okay.
Because Indy, Houston, Atlanta.
I agree.
And they play Houston twice. They got Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
What was the over-under?
9.5.
I'll take the over because I think they can win this division with 10 wins. Okay. But it's all on QB1's shoulders. Everything, all of it.
Interestingly enough, James has the exact same prediction as Don. Well, now it's different. But Don had 11 wins in the over. I actually have them barely under at 9. However, there is some good news. They are the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game after having the league's worst record the year before.
And the only team in the NFL that has hosted Stadium Stampede, at least for the next couple of weeks.
So far. But Trevor Lawrence is one of 3 QBs to throw for 4,000 yards, 25 TDs, and run for 5 TDs.
And I like that kid. I like that kid.
As do I. Every QB drafted number 1 in the last decade and to start a third season at any point, and there's been 7 of them, has seen a drastic statistical jump. So while I have them only winning 9 games, Trevor Lawrence should take a massive step forward to the point where I think he's going to be in that tier 1 of QB conversation next year.
Well, I would agree with you on that, but I think they're because it's also because they're putting more pieces around him. Mm-hmm. Like this team is not. This is why I went over with it to 11, because they're finally taking this team seriously, even in its own town. Like until 2 years ago, the only thing that the Jacksonville Jaguars had people talking about was the debacle that was that Super Bowl in that town.
Yeah.
Now people are starting. Now people are starting to take this team more seriously. This team is taking itself more seriously. And I think it begins and ends with Trevor Lawrence. It just does. In most cases, you say the team does live and die by the quarterback. I believe this team does more than most. James called them the best team in the state of Florida. Ooh.
Yes.
Or Texas.
So, Tennessee Titans, 7.5.
See, Tennessee.
I might start pushing the gas here because we are definitely behind.
That's all right. At least we're not in studio. We're already home. Well, I'm home. You're not. Tennessee is a team that I put a lot of stock in early, and they tend to disappoint me. What's the over-under?
7.5.
I will take the over because this team will finish above 500 at 9 wins. Closing versus Jacksonville. That will be a fun game to watch in week 18. God, they got Houston 2 of their last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a nice spacing out against Indy as well. But I think this team's not going to set the world on fire, but they'll beat that over under.
Well, the big thing that they need to do is they did sign DeAndre Hopkins, or what's left of him, but Pete Skoronski, who they drafted in the first round, will determine how well this team goes, because this team fell off a cliff in 2020 from an overall standpoint the moment their tackles either left in Jack Conklin or just got less effective in Taylor Lewan. So pass blocking is going to need to be a thing, and Skoronski will be the one that determines it. Personally, I think Vrabel's own stubbornness will power the team to an over, but I only have them winning 8. Don has them under at 7.
So now we go to Houston.
No, Indianapolis.
Oh, Indy.
So this is going to have a little bit of crossover with the Titans, which is why I'm glad they're back-to-back. Derrick Henry, as you would put it, is a mountain of a man. Would you agree?
I would not debate that.
All right. He is 6'3", 243 pounds, and just punishes defenses. Not really break away, but he is so large on so many running plays that he just beats the crap out of them. Would you agree?
Yes. He will pound that line and wear it down.
Anthony Richardson is 6'4", 250 pounds. So he is larger than Derrick Henry and will have a significant number of runs this year.
And he can sling the rock too.
Not necessarily accurately, but if that ever happens, look out. But the bigger thing there, Derrick Henry, being very large, runs a 4.53 40. So, mass times velocity. Anthony Richardson runs a 4.4 at that size.
Yeah.
People are going to hurt. But they're going to stack the box and make him throw it. And outside of Michael Pittman, there's nobody to throw to. The kid can throw bombs, but he needs to get accurate. He wasn't accurate in college, but he also has very minimal game experience. But his running is going to carry them to at least a few wins. So, where do you have them at 6.5?
I just saw something very interesting as I looked at the schedule. Did the NFL change a rule? Because I thought we were still under the impression that every team in the league plays at least once on Thursday night.
They do not. They removed that because of the slew of terrible Thursday night games last year.
Well, the Colts do not. They don't have any primetime games. They've got one. They've got the November 12th at New England overseas.
Mm-hmm. The international series.
Give me the under. I just don't have any faith in the Colts right now. I just don't. 5.
5?
5.
I like that number because I also have them at 5.
I hate saying that because I like the Colts as an organization. I got to use my head, not my heart. Hey, there's Mike. He's just reinforcing what you said, that they moved that last February. Okay.
Yeah. But Don actually has them hitting the over at 7. So let's close out the AFC South with whatever Houston is going to be. So 5.5. Where do you got them?
Houston. The only thing that would interest me in watching Houston play is a grudge match with the Titans for the name the Oilers. That's it.
That would be a fun one, but it'll never happen.
The team is horrible. They're gonna win 3 maximum.
3 max.
Yes, maximum.
It's interesting.
They have nothing prime time at all. Nope. They have one primetime game and it's in preseason. Everything is noon or 3 Central Time.
Would you say you're going out on a limb with 3?
I'm going out on a limb with 5. 3 might be more realistic.
Wait, so what are you picking? 3 or 5?
I thought I picked 5.
You said 5 for Indianapolis, 3 for Houston.
Oh, is that 3? Oh, Houston 3. 3 is about right.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a chance to adjust, since you do have the same number as Don.
That's fair.
And I have them at 4, so we all think they suck.
Great grouping.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryans is a great coach, but this is not a one-year fix. The defense will be better, but the offense will continue to be garbage. But the worst part about it, they have no first-round pick next year because they lost it in the trade for Will Anderson. Yeah. But there is value in Houston. It's betting on whoever they play.
The
On to
value
the
is
AFC West.
when that bullet train gets made up and you can get there from here in an hour and a half.
Yeah. But shifting over to the AFC West and our Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. 11.5.
I mean, I don't even know why I'm looking at this schedule because I'm taking the over at 13. This team is steamrolling. You're opening versus Detroit. I mean, they give the bye after Miami, and they're hosting the Dolphins.
So
they'll have a maximum of 3 losses before the bye. Maximum.
So we have another good grouping. Don has them at 12. I have them under at 11.
Okay.
So it's been 20 years since there's been a repeat Super Bowl champion. I already mentioned about Orlando Brown being signed by Cincinnati, so they lost Mahomes' main protector. And interestingly enough, throughout the entire season, including the playoffs and the Super Bowl, Mahomes had 48 passing touchdowns. He only had one that traveled over 20 yards. For context, that is the same number as David Blau, Taysom Hill, and Christian McCaffrey. It is a short passing game. They got to figure out, the defenses have to figure out how to stop that. And I think somebody in their division will.
But remember, Mahomes loses points.
Because Brittany Mahomes?
No, because Thunder Smurfs is his favorite movie.
That is also fair. But quarterback on Netflix, not very interesting, but it does make me respect certain players infinitely more. And I may or may not be in that one too. Moving right along. The Chargers. Go ahead, Rob. Just say the phrase.
Los Angeles Superchargers.
Not what I was referring to. What do you say about the Chargers every year?
Chargers going Charger. Give me the over-under.
9.5.
Under 7.
Woo.
You can't make me believe in the Chargers. You can't. And they'll get all 7 of those wins before November 1.
Now,
then the meltdown will happen, as tends to do with the Chargers, no matter where they are.
I would love to
stadium. Great stadium.
Not theirs. I would love to make a side wager with you, but I know you don't bet. Because the Chargers had a historical level of injuries. Fun fact, if Austin Eckler leads the league in TDs for the 3rd straight season, it'll be the first time somebody has done that since 1960. Again, Jim Brown, greatest running back of all time. Now, I want you to think about how good the Chargers offense was and how many injuries they dealt with on defense. They have a new offensive coordinator because there were times they struggled on 3rd down, which we know is very important. That new coordinator is Kellen Moore, formerly of the Cowboys, where he had less talent to work with than on the Chargers. In his time as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, his teams are number 2 in total offense and scoring. They're also number 4 in passing yards and number 7 in rushing yards. His offenses get it done. I have the Chargers winning 12 games and the division. Don has them winning 10.
I just don't have the optimism you two do with this team.
Well,
and I love Air Bear. Don't get me wrong. Love me some Air Bear. That dog don't hunt.
So if there's no optimism, let's move to the lack of hope that is Las Vegas.
You mean when the autumn wind is a raider?
I think you're trying to do the echo thing, and it hasn't worked.
Let's try it again. Let's try it again with less echo.
Well, no. It hasn't worked in like 3 weeks.
Right about there should do it.
There's been no echo.
You can't hear it?
No, there hasn't been for weeks.
Oh, dad gummit all to New Jersey. But yeah.
Speaking of New Jersey, they have a new starting quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. But where do you put them at 6.5?
Oh, the Raiders. Under at 5. I have no faith in the Raiders. And Mike's saying it too. He can't hear the echo. That makes me sad because the echo sounds good.
Yes, it does.
They've got a really late bye. Dear Lord, their bye is into the first week of December. And they've got the AFC East for sure. I just can't. I can't put any faith in the Raiders either. I just can't. I got more faith in the Chargers, but that ain't saying much.
They have some wide receiver talent, so Jimmy Garoppolo only needs to be a facilitator, as he has always been in his career, even leading San Francisco to a Super Bowl by doing that. However, that defense is almost entirely bad if you're not named Max Crosby. But Josh Jacobs was elite. He was the number 1 running back last year. He has yet to report. And we're almost to the season, which usually leads to injuries, and they are going to suck. This is one of my favorite underbets of the year because I have them winning 4. Don, on an island, has them winning 8.
Sure.
Hey, he called Jacksonville last year. I'm giving him that.
Oh, he did.
He'll hang his hat on that for the rest of the time.
Broken clocks right twice a day.
But to wrap up the AFC, the biggest disappointment of my 2022, the Denver Broncos. 8.5.
I'm taking the under, but they'll win 8 games. Here's the thing with looking at their schedule just on paper. You've got Vegas and the Commanders in your first 2 weeks. That's going to build confidence that's going to shatter Shadoobie before it's all said and done. They've got Kansas City, Green Bay, Kansas City, and then the bye, and then Buffalo. Like 0 for 4, and you tie the bye. This is not going to be good. They'll win 8 games, but it's not going to be pretty. They'll finish second in the division.
I'm sorry, you said they'll win 8 and finish second?
Behind Kansas City.
I just realized that. I wasn't paying attention to your numbers until just now. I also have them winning 8, so I 100% agree with you. Don has them winning 7, but if I can give anybody who is a Broncos fan or just wants them not to suck some hope, Russell Wilson was almost the worst quarterback in the NFL on first down. His grading scale, according to PFF, was 62.9. In prior seasons, he's one of the best ever at a 92 grade. Last year, anomaly, maybe? But Sean Payton specializes in coaching up quarterbacks on first down. The greatest to ever do it? Drew Brees. Who had a record 94.4 grade, which means Russell Wilson was about that far behind him every year that wasn't 2022. With Sean Payton there, I expect Denver's offense to function a lot better. But if you want a sneaky nugget, and I'm glad we don't pick close enough in our fantasy league for you to snipe this from me, Rob, Sean Payton gets work out of all of his running backs. He does not have a bell cow. He gets 150 touches from every running back almost every year. One season he didn't because of injuries. So when Samaje Perine got that many touches per game, he averaged 21.3 fantasy points. And he did it every time he had 10 touches. Javonte Williams is back and healthy and should be good. But Samaje Perine's going to get work for Denver. And that's it for the AFC.
Are we ready for this? Russell Wilson has at least a Super Bowl win. Could have had 2. But
yeah, if somebody's ego didn't get in the way.
What are the best episodes of the league ever?
The best openings.
Yeah.
So
NFC, baby. Let's go. Let's do it.
NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles, 10.5.
I think Philadelphia is going to be more successful in April than they're going to be in January.
Hashtag Bulldog Nation.
Well, actually, no, there was something else I was going with in that same stadium in April. WrestleMania. Nothing.
Sorry, I was getting ready for the other one. That was 2 years ago, but yes.
No, they have it this
in
coming.
Philadelphia. Okay. For 40.
That's
Yes.
correct. Which is, I'm saying they'll have more success in April than they will in January. What was the over-under again? I'm sorry.
10.5.
The good news for them is they're in that division.
Mm-hmm.
I will take the under.
Look who else they play.
But I'm saying I'll take the under barely at 10. I don't think they'll hit 11, but it'll be enough to win that division.
Would you like Don's or mine first?
Whichever's easier for you.
Don has them at 12. I have them at 14. Ooh. That's why I say, look at that schedule. It is arguably the softest for a division winner out of all division winners that aren't the Bengals. So, the only thing that I saw that Philadelphia really has working against them, the last 17 QBs to lose their Super Bowl debut never made it back.
James has 12. It's
a cupcake schedule.
Yeah, but it's just Philly has this habit when they have a softer schedule, they take those opponents for granted. And at least a couple of them will reach up and bite them on the tuchus.
Well, I almost agree with James entirely on the 6 wins from the rest of the division alone. I would say 5, but we'll get to that on the next one. The Cowboys, 9.5.
Under.
At?
I'm not even. Let me get to the schedule, but I don't see them hitting double digits. The thing about
schedule.
Right. But this is another team that has this habit of looking past their opponent when they think it's a cupcake. Think about Thanksgiving Day when the Dolphins were in the old stadium and they thought they were going to run. And Ricky Williams said, "Hey, how about you hold my beer for about 5 minutes while me and Zach Thomas beat you 41-14 or whatever it was." They'll win 8. They'll win 8. But I'm not giving them any more.
Well, you're not far off of Don's. He has them at 9. I have them big asterisk because it's such a cupcake schedule, winning 11. That is also an accurate statement, James, about Ricky Williams moving right along. But
rolling newbies.
The fun fact, they thought Kellen Moore was the problem when they were at the top of the league in offense, so they hired Brian Schottenheimer, who might as well be the offensive equivalent of paint drying. Dak Prescott is now the longest tenured QB with his team.
Jeez.
And he's also the first quarterback to lead the league in interceptions while missing 5 or more games.
$40 million well spent.
Yep. But it's not all bad because Tony Pollard, friend of the show, averaged 19.6 fantasy points in games that he had at least 15 touches. Interestingly enough, the green zone inside the 10-yard line, which is considered high value for running backs, he only had 12 carries inside the 10. And
Alex is frozen up on us there. We'll give him a minute. Alex, are you with us? You froze up on us there for a moment.
What was the last thing that came through?
You were talking about a friend of the show, and then the wheels kind of fell off.
Okay. Tony Pollard, 19.6 fantasy points per game when he had at least 15 touches. He had 9 touchdowns last year, despite only having 12 carries inside the 10. Ezekiel Elliott had 26. Ezekiel Elliott is now that fat guy on the Patriots. So there's not really competition for Pollard. I expect a big season for him. because Brian Schottenheimer loves to run twice and then make a bad pass. But I do have them in the playoffs as much as I dislike their fandom. Okay.
They like to get to the playoffs and then just like not do anything.
I'll put a pin in it. I actually have them winning a playoff game. So let's rip the Band-Aid off. New York Giants, 7.5.
I'm going to give you 8. Because the Giants are a team, especially in this division, they understand how to play division opponents. They just do. Outside of the division, it gets a little hairy, but they understand how to play teams in their division. Now, their bye also doesn't come until after Thanksgiving, which is an interesting concept. They also have Thursday night and Monday night in back-to-back weeks. So they basically get a nice little pseudo bye between September 21st and October 2nd in their West Coast swing between the Niners and the Seahawks, which is a very interesting bit to me as well. I think this team is more competitive than you believe them to be. And they're your team, which I appreciate. But I think I got a little bit more faith than you do.
What if I told you you're not the highest on them?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Don has them winning 10.
Might be a little aggressive, but, it's his opinion. He's welcome to it. It's America.
I have them winning 6.
That's proving my point from 30 seconds ago.
Yes. Now, they were massive overachievers as they were the worst statistical team to ever make the playoffs, according to Pro Football Focus. But there is an interesting subtle signing that they did in this offseason, which was actually, I believe, a trade. Daniel Jones is one of the highest rated quarterbacks throwing to crossing routes. They signed or traded for Darren Waller, who has the 3rd most receptions on crossing routes since 2019. The dude does work on crossing routes over the middle. He also missed 14 games in that time. Get ready for the Darren Waller show.
I like where Mike's head's at, honestly.
Don may have an alcohol. Wrong one.
That's James. But he's not wrong.
Yeah, I have that flipped in the middle.
I agree with Mike. Not just I don't.
All right.
The
Commies, 6.5.
The Washington Football Club. Give me the under.
Still waiting for the brigade.
This team is terrible. It just is. And they're dealing with new ownership now and everything that's going to come with that. This team will be bad for the next 3 to 4 years. It just will be because they are in a full overhaul. And if you are in the DC area, I hate to say this because it comes from another city in your division. You got to trust the process for a minute, bro. They might win 3.
Is that your call?
James says 2. I'm saying 3. All right. God bless you. This is going to be a tough road for them to walk here for the next few seasons.
What if I told you one of the people on this show has them over?
And it's you, probably.
It is not.
Ooh.
Don has them.
That. I figured it was you.
Yeah. Don has them winning 8.
Wow.
I have them winning 5. Fun fact for the Commies, they will be starting a different week 1 quarterback for the 7th consecutive season. Which
as are the Colts.
Thank you for reading my next note.
Oh, okay. I was to say, I knew that because I heard that last week.
Yes, which ties the record with the Colts and a team from the 60s. But the last QB to lead them to a winning record and into the playoffs was Kirk Cousins, who is going into his 6th season with the Vikings.
Who likes that? He likes that.
He did once. But this is a good team. It really is a good team that is a quarterback away from contending. I mean, Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin are among the 2 best wide receivers or the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. They just don't have anybody that can get them the ball. Now, maybe Sam Howell is the answer. He was good in college. but we're going to find out. All right. On to Mike's division. Can't wait to hear this one from him. The Minnesota Vikings at 8.5 wins.
Minnesota. Where, as James said earlier, Aaron Rodgers will be next year.
If he takes the Favre route.
Yep. Say it again.
8.5 for the Minnesota Vikings.
Taking the under at 7. So many teams have the bye so late this year. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, if you'd like your grouping, you have them under at 7. Don has them under at 8. I have them over at 9. Now,
this is the most grouping I think we've ever had on this
possibly.
Show.
But the crazy thing about the Vikings last year is they won 13 games despite having a negative point differential. I want you to think about that. They won 13 games and gave up more points than they scored.
So didn't they have like half those wins were by less than a field goal or something crazy like that?
I want to say it was less than 5.
Yeah.
But the interesting things that I have for that one, Kirk Cousins is the 11th best graded passer of all time and second among those drafted in the 4th round or later after Tom Brady. Now, TJ Hawkinson was the tight end 2 from the moment he joined the Vikings through week 17. Adam Thielen had 107 targets and ran more routes than anybody in the NFL. He's now in Carolina. And if you would like the craziest stat about my guy from last year, Justin Jefferson has 24 100-yard games through his first 3 seasons. You know that's the record for a 4-year career?
That kid just was amazing last year.
He's been amazing his whole career.
Just watching him, but I'm saying like last season was when I really paid attention to him because fantasy. Watching him play it's just joy. Even if he wasn't on my team, just watching, he is the human highlight reel right now. Just is. And if he can elevate that team at all, Mike thinks there'll be winnable games. They might split with the Lions. And he also never thinks they'll go under 10 most years.
Hey, they might go over, but then they wind up losing to a team that has no business being in the playoffs.
There's just another one of those teams that it just feels like there's something missing that would push them over the top. And it's not anything major. It just feels like if you just a little bit of tweaking, this could be a contender.
No, the thing you're talking about is defense. That's what they're missing. Now, the team that is favored to win the division, and you talked about them before, the Detroit Lions.
MCDC.
9.5.
Motor City Dan Campbell. 9.5?
Yes.
1, 2. I'm going to go under at 7 just looking at this because they've got the early game on Thanksgiving versus Green Bay because Detroit plays every year on Thanksgiving. Detroit and Dallas, that's the tradition. They're in this town on New Year's Eve.
Now, they're the favorites to win the division. But I have 2 stats for you. One good, one bad.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the bad.
Okay.
The last time the Lions won a playoff game, Brett Favre was still on the Falcons.
Yikes. And I love there's so many people that are like, wait, no, he played. Yeah, he did. They drafted him.
Mm-hmm. But here's a good one for you. The Lions, after October, play 2 games that are considered outdoors. And one of those is in Dallas with a retractable roof. The reason that matters is that Jared Goff indoors averaged 20.6 fantasy points per game. Only the big 4 of Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, and Hurts scored better than that on a per game basis.
And even by the time they play this team, weather's not going to be a factor for them. Because even if Jera opens the roof, it's December.
But they're not going to open the roof.
That's what I'm saying. But even if they did, to me, for a team that's in Detroit, even though they do play indoors, and to me, weather's part of home field advantage. I don't know that even if Jerry opened the roof, it would matter to this team.
Now, you had them under at 7. Don has them at 10. I have them at 8. So you and I are close. Don's a bit higher.
They'll win 9. Just to make us angry. They'll win 9.
Just to thread that needle. Now, this one I struggled with. The next 2, I should say, because combining the 2, both the Packers and the Bears have a win total expectation of 7.5.
Here's my thing. Hunter the Battle Cat is here. He's just off camera. The Packers, it's going to go really well or it's really not. I believe in Jordan Love, but I'm
first round QB.
Sold on Jordan Love. I think I will. Again, this is another one of those. And James is saying the same thing. You could throw darts blindfolded and pick the number of wins just as accurately. I'm actually going to take the under for the Packers at 7. I will take the over with the Bears at 8. These are going to be the 2 teams that are going to battle for the middle of the division, in my opinion. And you could spin a wheel as to who's going to come out of this division. I will tell you a wild card will not come out of this division, but those 2 will be right dead in the middle. I still think Minnesota's got enough to win the division. The Lions, James is right. This division it's mind-boggling, and it has been for the last few years. This is the Hard Knocks problem I have. Because last year it was the Lions, and I was ready to run through a wall for MCDC, and then it just melted down. But that's where I'm at.
Now, yeah, James is right. The division winner could take it with 8. Yeah. However,
agreed.
I interestingly have both teams going over, but I'm going to save that for a minute.
Okay.
Jordan Love will be the first week 1 quarterback not named Favre or Rodgers since the Dream Team in 1992.
Yeah, that's one thing you can say about Green Bay. They'll stick with a QB.
Yet they only win 1 Super Bowl apiece. Now,
at the frozen tundra.
Here's the interesting thing with the Packers and why I have them going over. Their pass defense is elite. They'll keep them either in the games or even win them against Minnesota and Detroit. But they couldn't stop my grandmother running. And Chicago will run all over them because that's what they do. I have the Packers winning 9. Don has them winning 8.
Can I try something real quick? Because I think I figured it out.
Go for it.
Because they play at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
You want to go back to the Raiders for a minute?
Because in 1 month and 3 days, the autumn wind is a Raider. For some reason, it comes through my headphones, but I had to turn up the level on the mixer for it to go out.
But it works now.
But we got it now. We're good now.
So thoughts on that one? We have 9-8-7 for the Packers.
Yeah, I want Jordan Love to succeed, but I am not fully sold yet.
I think their receivers are also underrated right now with Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and Romeo Dobbs. Plus, when you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, that's pretty much a full offense. Now, Chicago, and you heard me say, like, this is stupid during the preseason game that people are going to overreact to. But then I dug a little bit deeper. Run defense is the biggest Achilles heel for everybody in the division not named Chicago. Justin Fields came up just short of the overall QB rushing record. But interestingly enough, he almost doubled number 2 of all time, the yards after contact. So he set the record for QBs for yards after contact, almost lapping the field all time. Chicago went out of their way to improve their offensive line immensely. Now, the other thing is that Fields hasn't always been the most accurate of passers, but he has improved. He did improve throughout last year. The biggest thing Chicago did was get DJ Moore. His catch rate on balls within his reach, so that's his entire wingspan, plus a few inches based on movement, 98.3%. If it gets even remotely close to DJ Moore, they're going to complete passes, but the box is going to be stacked, so who's going to stop them? The only time that's going to be stopped is against the Packers when Jair Alexander is going to blanket cover DJ Moore.
So would you say...
And then Justin Fields will run for 200 yards.
So would you say with that defense, there might be a stampede in that stadium?
Thank you for figuring out why I was holding off on that. But,
watch the other show.
Excuse me?
I said watch the other show.
Now, do you want me to break your brain a little bit?
More than it's already that way? Sure.
I have the Bears winning double-digit games at 10 and the division.
I wouldn't say that's outside of the realm of possibility, but I think a lot has to fall their way.
But this is why I love doing this show, because I do the research. If you asked me sans research how many games the Bears were going to win, I would have said 5.
Well, this is your wheelhouse.
It's
You're the expert. I know enough to be dangerous, and that's why this works.
And then Don spins a wheel.
Hey,
but he gets it right.
He has value.
Yes, he does.
Again, he's the one that said, what did he say though? Like 13 wins for Jacksonville last year. And
I want to say he said 11.
We're like, you are out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
All right. Your other team, the division that was won with a losing record in the NFC South.
NFC South.
Have you looked at anything for Tampa Bay yet?
I have not. I'm pulling it up now.
No, I don't want you to pull it up.
Okay,
I want you to guess the line for the over-under.
8.5.
6.5.
Take the over at 8.
Okay, you think they win 8?
Now let me look at the schedule.
Yeah.
So, I know don't they have one of the international games?
I believe they do.
Both of my teams have. No, they don't. Miami does.
I thought Tampa Bay has a game against Jacksonville in London.
No, that's versus Jacksonville. That's a 3:05 Central game on CBS.
Okay. I thought that one was in London.
Maybe it got swapped out, because that does sound familiar. It might have gotten swapped out, or maybe that was last year. But no, they do have a Thursday night at Buffalo. Woo! In October. Oh, daddy. This division is such a shell of its former self. You remember when this division was appointment viewing? When Carolina was firing all cylinders, New Orleans was running roughshod, Tampa Bay was doing the deal, and the Falcons.
When in a bad year, Atlanta and Carolina scored 80 points on a Thursday night.
Jeez. And this division, like, again, I think they'll win 8 games, but it's not going to be enjoyable.
Well, you have the same number as Don.
That makes me feel better.
I have them winning 5. Now, what I'm going to be very interested in is how well the defense keeps them in games, because the defense is still pretty good. Tristan Wirfs is an elite offensive tackle, but the rest of the line is toast. So Baker might be getting, or Trask might be having somebody in their hip pocket every single moment. What I'm most interested in is Mike Evans has 9 years of at least 1,000 yards. He got there with 1,100 last year with Brady having a bad season. Now, Brady wasn't there a long time, so Evans was still getting it done with less than stellar quarterback play. See my prior notes on Todd Monken. But do you know what Baker Mayfield is still among the elite at?
Having keys to a stadium?
No, he had to give those back.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he's got them for here.
Brady still has them.
Okay.
Actually, Giselle might have gotten it in a divorce. Anyways.
She got half.
Baker Mayfield has always had elite statistics on deep balls, deep ball accuracy, and deep ball success rate. Mike Evans runs the deep routes. Godwin runs the short routes where Baker Mayfield struggles. Now, he may not have a great year, but I say that Evans gets to 10 years. And if you're curious, that's to start his career. And the overall record for most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons is 11. And he has openly said he wants to get there. And Byron Leftwich, still coaching.
Like him as a coach, too.
Still coaching and likes to get his guys his bonuses. So I have them at 5, but I don't have them winning games.
Fair enough.
Carolina. Oh, boy. 7.5.
Under.
How far?
5. This team, I mean, they're gonna have a little bit of confidence coming out of the gate at Atlanta versus the Saints at Seattle. Then they run Minnesota, Detroit, Miami, and the bye. Then they'll have a little bit more confidence coming off the bye versus Houston, and Indy. But then at Chicago, hosting Dallas, at Tennessee, that's going to be a tough stretch for them. And then finishing hosting Green Bay, at Jacksonville, hosting Tampa Bay. This is not going to be fun for them. It's just not going to be a fun
Interestingly enough, you have the least.
Really?
Yeah. Don and I both have them winning 6, so we're all under. But it's 5 or 6. So the interesting thing that Carolina has going for it is Frank Reich, a fantastic coach that should not have been fired in Indianapolis.
Agreed. Fully.
But even before that, Carolina was awesome against the run, which is what this division's going to have to do, and running the ball, which this division can't really stop outside of New Orleans. So if they can get something more out of Frank Reich, that rookie QB jinx from starting week 1 might fall for the first time since Andrew Luck and RG3. But the only thing that's really going to be worthwhile on this team, at least from fantasy, is a super deep sleeper of DJ Chark. They paid Adam Thielen to be their wide receiver 1, but as much as I like Adam Thielen, and I know I'm pretty sure Mike named a kid after him, that dude's toast. So DJ Chark is going to be your main pass catcher.
DJ
Chark. We gotta stop before we owe somebody money. Okay. But Jonathan Mingo is a really good rookie coming in, but he's going to need to adjust. If he adjusts faster than I expect, they'll blow past this number by December.
Okay.
I don't think they will.
Fair enough.
Now, coming in third for that division, because Jameis Winston on one leg and Andy Dalton's Red Rocket firearm, New Orleans Saints, the only one that is an actual even number, at 9.
This is a tough schedule as I'm looking at it.
I disagree, sir.
You're hosting Tennessee. You're at the frozen tundra. You're hosting Jacksonville. Chicago could go either way. Can I push?
Absolutely.
No, I don't want to push because that's cheating.
That's not cheating. That's just trying to thread a needle, and it's a bad move.
Yeah. The Saints have been so all over the map the last 4 or 5 years. You just want to go, who that coaching this year? Just wondering.
Dennis Allen?
I was making a joke.
Oh, I thought you were genuinely asking.
Give me the under at 8.
At 8. What if I told you you're the only one that went under?
Wouldn't surprise me. Not the first
Yeah,
time.
but there's something that you don't know.
That Don went 14?
Don went 10.
Okay.
I'm going to withhold my number for a second.
Okay.
Because you're going to see where this is going.
Fair enough.
Derek Carr has always been an underrated passer. Statistically, he's always been among the top half to top 10. And he now has his most complete receiving core. Now, Michael Thomas may also be cooked, but that dude holds the record for most catches in a season for a reason. Throw him out. Chris Olave from that state or from that college I refuse to say, and Rashid Shaheed were both rookies last year. Fun fact, they are 2nd and 4th all time in yards per route run by rookies. They know how to get open and create yardage.
Raheed, I mean, we saw a lot of highlights on him. That doesn't shock me at all.
But now he's going to get more of a focal point rather than just being the 9 route guy.
Right.
Now, I want you to think about that. 2nd and 4th all time yards per route run. And they did it with Jameis Winston not being able to see and Andy Dalton, who I think I might be able to throw further than. Now, if you want the fantasy twist on Chris Olave, and I really hate saying these things because I feel like every time I do, they wind up on your team, Rob. Chris Olave averaged 15.1 points per game when he got 4 targets. Think about that.
He's quick and fast.
Most starting receivers get at least 7 a game. When he got at least 4, he was an elite wide receiver. And Derek Carr is the best quarterback he could have hoped for in this offseason. I have the New Orleans Saints winning 13 games.
It's a bold move, brother.
It is.
Again, Carr, as a human, big fan of Derek Carr. Always have been. I hope he has an amazing season because I want him to dunk on the Raiders. I do. Because he was so misused, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. I hope he has a breakout season. I'm not putting money on it.
I am.
I know you are. But
at that same time, this is either going to be my best call of the year or it's this year's Broncos.
It's either this year's Broncos or this year's Jaguars for you. One of the two.
No, I can't take that. It's either, for me, it's either this year's Eagles or Broncos.
I'm just saying on the show as a whole.
Yes. So that leaves us with the Atlanta Falcons. 8.5.
Under 5. And that's being generous. This team is bad. It's been bad for a long time. And that's sad to me because that's a great stadium.
Sir, just quick question. You said 5, yes?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, interestingly enough, Don and I agreed. We also have it as under, but 7. But that has more to do with the fact that Tampa Bay and the Panthers will be calling them dumpster fires would be an insult to dumpsters and fires.
And they're at Arizona. That helps.
That definitely helps. So, interestingly enough, their coach, Arthur Smith, very much known for running some more, and then running again because Derrick Henry. They just drafted Bijan Robinson with the 8th pick.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who is a fantasy target in my book?
Kid's good.
Now, here's where the real thing comes in. Atlanta was elite last year at running the ball despite being terrible. Guard Chris Lindstrom, unsung hero for the Falcons, had the highest rated guard season in the modern history, and he's done it consistently. So he creates holes, and you combine the talent of Bijan Robinson with that, the kid may have 1,500 yards. Just saying. But I also think the best thing that could happen for the Falcons is they either have a completely lost season and get to draft a quarterback with talent, or what's more likely to happen, Taylor Heineke, yes, that Taylor Heineke of Kami's fame, comes in and is able to lift that offense to exceeding the total. Now, we've already said none of us expect that, but I expect they will make a run at it with Heineke starting games at the end of the season because Desmond Ridder is the oldest looking second-year player of all time, and I'm pretty sure you could put him 10 feet away from a full-size barn, and he'd still only hit it half the time throwing a football. So, on to our last division.
NFC West. This is the division 3 years ago that was won on a losing record.
Which is what we just had on the prior, because Tampa Bay had a losing record. So, a nice transition.
There is one team and then everybody else in this division.
San Francisco.
That's who it is.
10.5.
Over 12. I'm saying it. This team is going to destroy people. This team is on a revenge mission. You can't stop them. You can only hope to contain them. And they start the season in acupuncture field.
Love that bit.
I actually told Pittsburgh. I told my boss about that. He was very humored.
Now, 12, I like that number. I have them at 11. So we both have the over. Don has them at 9. And losing the division.
Now, they do have, as I'm looking through the schedule, they've got some tough games, but not too tough for this team. Oh, this team's going to be fun to watch this year.
Interestingly enough, I think they're going to be fun to watch for something you don't realize. They actually lost multiple key starters on defense. That's why I only have them at 11.
And had no draft picks in the first 2 rounds.
But the other interesting thing is, do you know who the last player to rush for 1,000 yards for the 49ers was?
For 1,000 yards?
Mm-hmm.
Frank Gore?
You are correct. In 2014.
Winner!
McCaffrey's going to break that streak.
That kid, when I heard the story about him on the plane, before he even got on the plane from Carolina to San Francisco, the one thing he wanted on that plane was the playbook. When I heard that, I said, y'all are in trouble. If you don't have that logo on your helmet, y'all are in trouble because this kid's going to run all over you. And he did.
He actually was a better pass catcher than he was a runner last year because he didn't know the formations yet. Now he has a full offseason.
Mm-hmm.
However, as much as I love Paul Heyman, I am not a believer in Brock Purdy. He did great facilitating, but they also kept it super simple.
But
I feel like with game tape over the start of the season, defenses are going to figure out how to try to limit.
But is this also the case of Brock Purdy? Nobody knows much about him. Now we know more about him, and we're going to be able to figure him out better. You had your grace period. Now it's on. But I think he's got so many multiple weapons around him. I think that he can make up for some of that and have a lot of success with this team.
But the hard part I believe they're going to have is that defense being limited. They also lost the aforementioned D'Amico Ryans to Houston, who was known for making adjustments at halftime to put his defense in the best position possible. They are still going to win the division, in my opinion, but it's not going to be as dominant. Now, part of that is, and I still feel weird saying it, Geno Smith and the Seahawks. 8.5.
Under. Seattle, and Heather knows I love her, and this is her team. 6.
Sorry, you cut out. What did you say? 6?
Yeah, that's all I can give them.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they've got some tough stuff. They're actually, that's preseason. Hold on. Well, I saw the frozen tundra, and it's the last week of preseason. I mean, again, and this is a spoiler for what's going to come up here in a minute. In a world where the Arizona Cardinals exist, they won't finish last in the division.
That's true.
But they've got the NFC East. They're at Tennessee versus Pittsburgh versus Philly. They're coming here. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Seahawks this year. Love that stadium.
Sorry?
I said love that stadium.
One of the best stadiums in the world.
It's designed well, but I just don't have the faith.
Now, here's the interesting thing. I have them over at 9. And Don has more.
Wow.
He has them winning double digits and the division.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hold on. I need to digest this. He believes that the Seattle Seahawks will win a division over the San Francisco 49ers in the year of our Lord 2023.
That is correct. You're also leaving out the part where he said double-digit wins.
I don't even know what to say right now. That's amazing. I love that he puts it out there. I love that he'll live on a limb. But now, summer house on that limb. Wow.
Now, there is some stuff in his favor because last year, Geno Smith was quietly the 5th best passer in the league. And he might be even better this year because he had 2 rookie tackles last year who did a very good job and are only going to get better with more seasoning, more work, and more training. Plus, they used their first pick on arguably the best wide receiver in the draft in Jackson Smith-Njigba, who happens to be from Rockwall, Texas. But
you can score 28, but when you give up 42, it doesn't matter.
But when you have you have Batman and Robin in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and you add JSN, that might be a pass offense for the first time in Pete Carroll's career. But you also have Zach Charbonnet, who's going to be very good, and Kenneth Walker, who is great when he's healthy. That's a really good offense.
Pete Carroll slinging the rock in practice.
I refuse to acknowledge that. That was terrible.
With Snoop Dogg just going nuts.
Those were 2 videos cut together.
Still funny. Don't
Still
care.
Funny.
Funny's funny.
But I do have them winning 9 games, and he has them winning the division at 10. That is one of my favorite things, and I'm so glad it's in the NFC West.
Wow.
But it can't all be fun because now we have the Rams. 6.5.
The Rams are a team. They're going to do well or they're not. Now, I have them second in the division. What's the over-under again? I'm sorry.
6.5.
I'll give them 7.
Okay.
But they're not going to win the division. San Francisco's going to run away with this division. They just are.
You are the only person that has the over. Don has them at 4 wins. I have them at 5. Now, the interesting thing in that scope is they lost 12 games despite having the best rush defense in the NFL.
Was that the worst drop off of a Super Bowl champion ever?
I don't believe it was, but it was close.
I would say it's got to be on the medal stand. If
it's in the ballpark at minimum. Now, that defense took a lot of hits, some of them on purpose by trading players away. Whether or not you like them personally is another story. But a healthy Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp drastically changes that. They should be much better because that O-line is trash. It is so bad. It has been so bad since Andrew Whitworth retired.
Cooper Kupp, who carried my fantasy team 2 years ago.
Wait, I have a Cooper Kupp fact that you're going to enjoy.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp was the 23rd best receiver last year. He played 9 games.
Yeah, kid's good.
He's great.
He's one of those people that gets, I think he gets enough love, but I don't think he still gets enough love. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he gets the highlights, but there's so much good that kid does that just blows my mind.
But the problem that they have is that Matt Stafford's body is held together by bubblegum and duct tape at this point, and Cooper Kupp is again dealing with a leg injury. So as they go, so do the Rams, and Sean McVay may just say halfway through the season, could you just fire me because I'm done?
I'm going to go on another vacation to the Maldives.
Yeah. So that leaves us with one team. The Arizona Cardinals.
Who were the in-season Hard Knocks team last year.
And they have, I believe, tied or alone the lowest win total in the league at 4.5.
I'm going to have to look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got him at 5 before the bye, so I'm going to have to take the over.
Well, get that total number for me.
But their bye's late too. Their bye's the week of the 10th of December. Give me 7.
7?
Yeah, give me 7.
You know, it's not terrible because when Kyler Murray is good, they'll be in any game. So 7.
Can we apply the wrestler logic to Kyle Murray?
Which one?
I am taller than him.
I'm taller than Kyler Murray. That's not saying much. The only time he's taller than me is in cleats.
Did I call him Kyle just now?
I thought you said Kyler.
Okay, if I said Kyler, good, because I thought I called him Kyle.
Yeah. But fun fact, they are underdogs in literally every game looking ahead. And they are also the betting favorite for the first overall pick in 2024. But the fun part about that is they're the ones that own Houston's first pick next year. So they may wind up getting the first and second pick in the NFL draft.
That's not outside of the realm of possibility.
It has happened once before. Can you guess the year?
2001.
It was much earlier.
Okay.
1992. The Indianapolis Colts had the first 2 picks and whiffed on them both.
Oh, dear.
Because that organization was horrible.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But the interesting thing that could completely flip for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray was the 3rd worst deep passer in 2022, statistically on every level. He was so far beyond everybody else the prior 2 seasons, it was comical. If he can get relatively close, because last year was an anomaly, the Cardinals will blow away their win total. However, you and Don both have the over at 7 and 6, respectively.
Okay.
I have them coming up just short with 4 wins. I just don't see it. I don't see him getting back. I don't see him getting back healthy for at least 6 weeks. Now, he may be back in the game before then, but he will not be healthy and excelling.
Okay.
So, General notes for the year. Now that we've wrapped up everything for the teams, the last rookie quarterback, because we have 3 of them starting from week 1 this year. The last rookie quarterback to win a playoff game, also the aforementioned Mark Sanchez.
Who has a great commercial for Fubo right now.
Yes. So I mentioned it before, but the only modern era rookie QBs to start from day 1 and exceed their win totals, Andrew Luck and RG3. Andrew Luck, a little bit of a different situation because that was a solid team until Manning got hurt. RG3 made chicken salad, we'll call it. Another fun fact for the year 2023, we've heard a lot about the running back aspects. Did you know that the average kicker now makes more money than the average running back?
Wow.
For the first time in league history. So, the other interesting thing, and a big reason why I have Philadelphia doing so well, there was another rule change on the docket during the owners' meetings to make illegal, outlaw, whichever word you choose in that scope, the tush-push quarterback sneak that Philadelphia perfected last year. As Jalen Hurts on sneaks had a 92.3% success rate.
Okay.
Which is more than Justin Tucker kicking a field goal in that dude's all time. So, with it being a copycat league, get ready for a lot of that from other teams. I saw a preseason game where that was attempted, and because it's illegal in college, the rookie running back goes to push the quarterback, pulls back, and goes, wait, what am I supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And gets annihilated. So, every NFC South team will be starting a new quarterback week 1. The only time it ever happened prior was 1973 in the AFC West. It didn't go well for them. It has been 18 years since the NFC East has had a repeat champion. I believe we all have the Eagles repeating this year. And I mentioned before, the AFC North, all of their win totals are for winning records, and it's never happened. In fact, I thought mathematically it couldn't happen based on how many times they play each other, but we will see. Uh-oh. Mike's going in. Will he sell what he is taking? Allen High School quarterback that has to.
Oh, yeah. It was when we were talking about Don and his win total.
Oh, okay. So, as a quick wrap up, Rob, who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Or your Super Bowl matchup?
I think this is San Francisco's year.
Okay.
I think the Niners will be in Vegas. Who they play? Kansas City. I just can't not have Kansas City. They're so good. But San Francisco it's going to be another year that a California team is going to be in the Super Bowl. And that's my Super Bowl, and it's going to do gangbuster ratings. And I'll be the halftime entertainment. I'll be juggling plates.
So, for Don, his division winners in the AFC are the Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Jaguars. In the NFC, Eagles, Lions, Seahawks, and Saints. And in the Super Bowl, he has the Eagles over the Jaguars.
That'd be a Super Bowl. That would definitely.
I feel like there may be a little bit of prior year bias in that pick.
That would be a game with 2 teams in it. Yes.
Yeah. I believe there's a little bit of bias because he's so happy with his Jaguars call, which was amazing from last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for me to die a little bit inside?
Okay.
For the AFC, my playoff teams, in order of seeding from 1 to 7, Cincinnati, Buffalo, the Los Angeles Chargers, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Jets, Jets.
And you only picked one Ohio team, so good on you.
Well, put a pin in that. In the wild card round, I have the Bills beating the Jets, the Chargers beating Kansas City, and Baltimore beating Jacksonville. In my divisional round, Cincinnati beats Baltimore, the Bills beat the Chargers, and then Cincinnati beats Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
Mike agrees with you on that half of it.
So far. For my NFC teams, again 1-7, Philadelphia, New Orleans, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, Green Bay, and Minnesota.
And that beeping sound you hear would be Green Bay backing into it.
Both of them backing into it. But I have 3 NFC North teams making the playoffs. In the wild card round, Mike, look away. New Orleans gets their revenge beating Minnesota. San Francisco demolishes Green Bay, and Dallas beats Chicago. In the divisional round, Philadelphia says, yeah, that's cute, and ushers the Cowboys out. San Francisco beats New Orleans. The NFC Championship is Philadelphia over San Francisco. And hold on, I got to get a bucket because I'm going to throw up. My Super Bowl champion is the Cincinnati. The Bengals over the Eagles. I don't care about my fandom when it's predictions.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of predictions, first of all, great job, Alex, as always. And for those of you that are not aware, he did all of this. I did none of this outside of my opinions. Speaking of predictions, if you go to our social media, you will find a link to our Pick'em competition that will go through the entire season. Please go there, sign up. It's at ESPN.com. Sign up, be a part of our pool. You might win stuff. You don't know. At worst case scenario, you can say you're better than us, which really isn't that hard to do. But be a part of this show. We love interacting with you guys. The chat room was lit up tonight, and I'm here for it. Make sure you visit our website. I don't have my buttons right now. www.theclubhousepodcast.com. Find out everything you need to know and some stuff you don't. Follow us on your social medias. Twitter is at Clubhouse Show. Everything else is The Clubhouse Podcast. All 3 words in that order, or you will wind up somewhere else. You can follow me on all your social medias. Everything is Yes That Rob Irvin. That is spelled ERVIN. The aforementioned Don Ford. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. You can follow him on at Twitter at Igbunu, IGBUNUUU.
I am Vexploit on all social media, and I was attempting to present.
Thank you, Mike.
Hold on. There we go. So, this is the Pigskin Pick'em page. Feel free to join in. We have a few. We will have some prizes for anybody that beats us, wins the league. Maybe you'll get an Amazon gift card. Maybe you'll get a free show swag. Maybe you'll get both.
You don't know.
But I do.
I know.
Because everything is for the betterment of the Empire and to engage with everybody. Big shout out. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. Appreciate you playing along with us. But in the meantime, if you'd like to help out the show, please go to prowrestlingtees.com/thecheappopcast. We got a lot of different shirt designs, a lot of different color options within those designs. If you happen to be an artist and want to contribute or even just have suggestions, you can reach out to me at alex@theclubhousepodcast.com.
You can email Don if you would like us to come do a live show for you. We love doing live remote shows and hang out the Empire. He has Don@theclubhousepodcast.com. You can email me questions, comments, concerns. Tell me to go pound sand. I am Rob@theclubhousepodcast.com. Charlotte Marshall's on Pinterest because we are morally obligated to say that. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things normally sports, entertainment, and pop culture. But we devoted this one to the NFL because life is about to begin. Now, next week, we're on a 50-50. Wait, maybe not. We could be on, we could be we not. We've got some weird things going on next week. All In comes live from Wembley Stadium, where Don will be. So if you get the pay-per-view for AEW next week, you might see him on TV in London. Hopefully dressed like everybody else. We give him grief.
He'll have a Burberry scarf for sure.
We can give him grief, but he's our boy. He's our dude. He's our brother. But definitely 50-50 next week. Just pay attention to our social media. We'll keep you updated. We cannot thank you enough for joining us. Make sure you tell everybody you know about the show. Share our social medias, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Twitch. There's some great stuff coming, and we want you guys to ride along with us. So until next time, for Alex, for Don, for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. Brittany Palmer was working UFC last night, and she works in UFC. She gets the job done, bruh.